What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Canes. Whoa, get that mic right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily Podcast, Monday, Championship Week. We are going to be doing a million shows this week, probably two, three a day. Got a bunch of interviews lined up. You are going to love all of these. It's going to be nonstop, man. And we're doing two things at the same time. We're talking about Portal at the same time as getting ready to try to win Miami's 6th national championship. So obviously one of those things much more important than the other. They're both critically important. We are going to start today talking Portal for a while just because we're bringing on Steve Kim at 10 o'clock. So about an hour, and we'll be going deep into the championship at that point. But we're going to talk a lot of Portal before then with Peter Reeves. First, I want to talk about some folks that are always in championship mode. That is Anjar and Levine, accident attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anjar and Levine. Pete, hop in here.
D, good morning.
Morning, man. Championship week. How we feeling?
Feeling good, man. You said that one's more important than the other in terms of talking Portal and championship. One does not happen without the other. I'll say that.
That's a fact, man. It's you look at our roster, you look at Brockermeyer, obviously Carson Beck, Bauman, Marion,
Scott.
I was going position by position. CJ Daniels, Carter Davis, David Blay. Messidor originally was a transfer.
You say Marty Brown?
Marty Brown, that's right. That's right. Motoré, Poiser, Thomas, Keontae Scott, Frederic, Lucas, Ethan O'Connor. You just go down the line. Portal's been huge. So one feeds the other. So folks that are going to ask, when you get to talk the championship, we will talk plenty of championship at the top of the hour and throughout the week.
You got to win the offseason first. You got to win the offseason championship first. They've clowned us for years for doing it, but it's important.
They might win the both championships this year. They're competing for both championships.
Why not? Why not?
How about that? So let's start with the Portal and the quarterback position. Everybody's going to ask about that, Pete. When it comes to Sam Levitt, I'm not particularly optimistic right now just because this thing should have been done yesterday and it's not, which usually
really should have been done 2 days ago, if we're being honest.
Right, exactly. So usually in my experience, when that's the order of events, it doesn't end well, but no one has conceded anything as far as I've heard. But, I don't like the order of operations here with him going back and now LSU talk, LSU boosters tracking flights, or LSU fans are tracking booster plane flights to Phoenix, Arizona. You've been through this drill before. Lane Kiffin's doing his usual song and dance. Of course, he's not playing in the actual playoff, which he's never played in the playoffs. So he's, tweeting like a young female. But other than that, I'm not too optimistic on the Levitt thing, and we'll see how it plays out. I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, I gotta say, man, I think Miami really felt like they had this thing done on Saturday afternoon, and we've both been fans of the player, D, and we still don't know what's going to end up happening here, right? As looks like D will be coming back on here in just a second. But false alarm there, D.
Yeah, I was just wiping the camera. I was looking a little.
Okay,
blurry.
I thought we got an important call that
that would have been nice
here and give us some.
Yeah, it was Sam Levitt online too.
But we've been fans of the player. I think we also understand that he wasn't Miami's first choice in this process, just how it's played out. It's been very public, right? And it looks like there's other programs who have kind of had their reservations about Levitt and how things ended at Arizona State, which was a good situation for him. Again, I think we both would be on board if he ends up coming to Miami. Right. But the way this thing's playing out is not.
Let's see how it plays.
But the way that it has played out up to this point, D, has not.
I think he's a good player. I think he can play at Miami.
I just said
I think
that.
a lot of guys.
What I'm saying is the way that this has played out has not been the most positive in my outside view of things, D. In my outside view of things.
Well, look, I mean,
now this could be cut up if he ends up coming to Miami, but I'm saying one way or another, D. It's interesting how this thing has played out.
People think that when we're talking about these things, we're just basically given the UM side of the story. We when we say UM side of the story, we're saying what UM is thinking. When we're saying our side, we're saying what we're thinking. They don't always match. I know last year when we were pumping Mendoza, people thought we were pumping it at the behest of UM because UM was trying to like start a propaganda campaign to take him. And it was actually the total opposite, right? We like CJ Bailey. That one didn't materialize. So, whatever. I'm providing my opinion, and I'll tell you what UM's thinking. I know UM is working hard on Sam Levitt. They're working hard on multiple options. We'll get to some other options in a second, have been. My personal view is I like going for things that make sense and that can get done quickly. Now, Cam Ward, we went for the big fish, and it worked out. And that was not a sure thing. Carson Beck, I thought made sense from the beginning, from the moment he hurt his elbow. And look how fast that deal came together once it was there, right? To be like, it's not like Carson Beck visited Texas Tech or all these other schools. Like when that was ready, that was ready. So we'll see how this plays out. Obviously, this is a primo spot for a quarterback, considering the last guy is the number 1 overall pick. Second guy's in the national championship game with the redemption arc. So it's obvious what Miami can do for quarterbacks. Someone's going to sit in that seat. Someone's going to be better off for it. And we'll find out who it is. But there are multiple options. The Levitt one, I don't particularly feel great about it for numerous reasons at this moment. And it sounds like you agree with me.
Yeah, I do, man. I do, man. And I don't think that people are, again, too happy about how things have played out there. But at the same in the same breath there, D, I'm really tracking the Ty Simpson situation.
Yeah, let's transition to that. So a lot of press on this, which is interesting. And you were tweeting me on the side, and we'll talk about that here, about
the story up.
Yeah, pull a story up. Ty Simpson, quarterback for Alabama, who, it's funny, again, we talked about him, just like with Beck, we talked about him before he was even in the picture.
That was you, and I questioned it. I immediately, I compared it to you talking about Nussmeier last year, but obviously you hit that one on the head. We'll see what happens here.
Well, I think Nussmeier might have made sense if Bryce Underwood would have gone to LSU, right? Because you saw Bryce Underwood playing as a true freshman because he gets paid a lot. So with this one, it makes a lot, football-wise, it makes perfect sense to me. I don't think Ty Simpson should go pro. He needs more reps. He only has 12 starts or 13 starts or something like that. He just needs more reps. This is a rep league. You saw Brock Purdy's example I always use. He reminds me of Brock Purdy. Now, Brock Purdy was Mr. Relevant, but now Brock Purdy's making $50 million a year. So that's the comp to him. I think experience would be huge for him. From Miami's standpoint, I think this is the best guy we could get. If you ask me to be candid and rank all the guys that have been in the portal or around the portal, I'd put Simpson at the top just because I just like how he operates. He's so smart, no nonsense, can move a little bit, accurate, can make throws when he needs to, has experience, but still could use more. So it's like he has stuff to gain. So I love the fit top to bottom. The question is going to be, he has no local ties. I mean, Carson Beck is a Florida guy, and really he's a Miami guy. Like that fit made a lot of sense. And I think we've seen what a great fit that is for him and for us and for everybody. Cam Ward from Texas, but again, a Miami guy. That's who he is. That's how he gets down. Ty Simpson, he's very much, at least from the outside, a SEC kind of guy. Grew up in Tennessee, played at Alabama, seems to just be that sort of dude. So I don't know if he'd want to come, aside from the football aspect. I don't know one way or the other. I haven't heard one bit of information on that. I think football-wise, it makes sense. And these numbers, Pete, from this article, they seem to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I find what I was texting you before the show, and we were talking about it last night a little bit, is I find the timing of the leak of this information interesting. And I'm not saying it in a bad way, right? Like, look, guys, I think we can guess, because the article talks about he has some SEC programs offering him $4 million. We can guess with the programs looking for a quarterback now, with Oregon looking like, even if Moore returns, Raiola is going to be their guy there. So I look at it and say, who else could be offering him that sort of money? Who else is in a situation of desperation? It's not to me, it's not a bad thing. Here's why. He announced, what was it, last Wednesday? He was entering sometime early last week that he was entering the draft, right? you put the timing of this coming out last night, D, from an Alabama source, right? Someone who's obviously close to the situation, maybe close to the Simpson family, the agent, whatever the case may be. Once you've already put out there, it's not like he's committed to a school, but once he's put out there he's leaving, you got to give yourself now a reason after the dad has come out and say, well, he's a first-round pick. You got to give yourself a reason now publicly to be able to pull back and say, well, he's got a $6.57 million because it's at 6.5 right now, right? So let's see as this thing keeps drawing out closer to the decision date. It kind of just gives you an out publicly. That's the way I look at this, and the timing was very interesting. Why would this need to leak if he was 100% already out there at the training facility? And I don't have any information as to what he's doing, but if a guy's really going to the draft, he's moved out to the training facility. He's in there already because these guys, you got the Senior Bowl coming up here in a couple weeks. Very, very similarly to the Cam Ward situation. Cam Ward had also not necessarily set up all his training thing. He was announced as an East-West Shrine Game member and then didn't even make the trip out there to practice that week, right? And we're still not at that point yet. That's still another, couple weeks away here. But I'm just trying to read into the situation the best I can, and it's making sense to me if this Levitt thing doesn't end up coming through.
If he wants to come to Miami, even at that number, I think it makes sense before anything with Levitt. I mean, I think he would be the best option to me. It's just going to be about him. So that's according to this article. So there was this article as a follow-up article. The follow-up article had Ole Miss and Tennessee offering $4 million. Mm-hmm. Ole Miss, you imagine, is gone now because of Deuce Knight. Right, so Deuce Knight's there at Ole Miss. I think that was a smart move for Ole Miss. He's going to be a really good player. I love Deuce Knight. So that leaves Tennessee. Tennessee has 2 young quarterbacks, including a 5-star that I think they're going to want to play at some point to pay a lot of money for Ty Simpson. When I don't know if Ty Simpson is what is holding them back, right? The quarterback position. They have other issues. So, yeah, if he comes back, Miami makes all the sense in the world. Oregon, is Dante Moore going to go pro? It's not like Raiola's kind of the guy there. So let's put Oregon to the side. Then the options start to disappear, right? Because it'd be Tennessee or Miami. He's from Tennessee. But if Miami's paying him $2 million more, and is Tennessee helping him get ready to play NFL football? I mean, they run that Johnny College offense, and none of their guys have done anything.
No, he'll put up numbers there. They'll be probably a good team. But I said the same thing a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Simpson.
Yeah, it's like I don't see how that helps him get better. So it's going to be very interesting. Also you have Hussein Longstreet Husson Longstreet visiting LSU.
And they already got the Elon kid who, listen, Lane has that Trinidad Chambliss recruiting pitch now lined up for every top small school QB coming out now.
That guy looked good. I watched his highlights, man. He had a good arm.
Yeah. Listen, I wouldn't be surprised to see him make something happen there.
Yeah, who knows? But then Longstreet, I like Longstreet. I watched his USC stuff. He's a little smaller than I actually thought he was. He kind of reminds me of like a bigger Darian Coleman, actually. But he's with LSU, or he was with LSU last night. If LSU doesn't go in that direction, does Miami poke it around there and say, hey, you're not going to come in with a guaranteed starting job, but you come in here with a chance to compete, 5-star last year? That's more like the youth movement option where everybody says recruit 5-star quarterbacks. So if you get Longstreet, that's a 5-star quarterback plus nickel and Coleman or whoever you have battling it out. So that's another option as well. But I do not get the sense that this thing is near the finish line at the quarterback position. So we'll see. Let me ask you, Pete, the deadline for underclassmen to declare for the draft is the 14th of January. I don't know if that's the deadline, which would be Wednesday. I don't know if that's a deadline to pull out of the draft, but they also need to enroll in colleges pretty soon, right?
I was looking at it. That's more the issue. Miami's last day, and this is the bottom line. Deadline is January 21st is the last day to enroll in classes in Miami. Classes start today, and they have until the 21st is the last day that you can enroll in classes. So 9 days is really what we're looking at here.
Yeah. So this is going to heat up fast. And it's funny. It's amazing. This was so consuming the last 2 years of all of our attention, all of our shows. And we're doing this at the same time we're preparing to potentially win the 6th national championship, first since we left this building right behind me. So,
and D, a very, very interesting note, and I don't know if you've heard anything differently here, but you have a dead period the next 3 days here. So you can't, it's the 12th now. You can't bring anyone in until Thursday. I've heard, now QB may be different, but I've heard not to expect really too many people on campus this weekend, considering they are in full-on prep mode for this game. So
that's right.
I don't know how many more guys you're going to be hosting here on campus. If something were to happen, it might just pop up, kind of how you were saying with Beck, like 1 minute to the next. This guy's agreed to be, this guy's pulled his name out of the draft and he's headed to Miami next year. That's how I think this thing goes down.
Yeah, it's I hate competing if we're going toe to toe with a Ty Simpson. I hate competing with the hometown school in Tennessee. So, but based on the numbers that are out there, it seems like we've placed a higher value on Simpson than Tennessee has. And we already talked about the fit being better. You know what? Here's one thing, Pete. I don't know what you think about this. Let's stay on Ty Simpson, because Ty Simpson to me is just very intriguing. And that article, I think, has made a lot of things that we speculated about for a month more real.
Hold on, D. Our boy Mike Jeezy said, "Why wasn't anyone saying anything to about Mendoza last year?" You must not have been on the channel, my friend. You're looking at two of the biggest Mendoza advocates out there before the fame.
Yeah, there were 3 guys we talked about last year. There was Mateer, because Mateer was the obvious choice. He was in the portal. He would follow Cam Ward. I think everybody was on board with Mateer, coaches, fans, and we were on board with Mateer. I still think he's a good player. He had a bad offense in Oklahoma around him. Then when Beck got hurt, well, then after that we said, man, Mendoza jumped in the portal. That's the guy we need. Like, easy fit, plug and play. He's going to get better. He's already good. Then when Beck got hurt, that was the guy we shifted to before even I think Miami shifted to him. So I think we were pretty good on the portal guys last year. We got a comment though. Someone's like, D always talks about when he's right. He never talks about when he's wrong. So I think we do talk about when we're wrong. But listen, I thought Jackson Arnold was going to be a good player last year. That was definitely something that did not pan out. I thought Auburn was going to be good on offense, and they were horrible. That one sticks out as by far the biggest whiff of last year's portal class. I thought Nussmeier would be better than he was for sure. So we'll give you some wrong ones, but we were definitely right on Mendoza. Now, did we expect him to be this, where he is? I mean, he looks like Andrew Luck right now. I mean, with how much bigger he's gotten and how much he's moving. I don't know if we expected all that. But what I wanted Mendoza, what we both wanted Mendoza for, was it was just a clean fit. It made a lot of sense. Plug and play. Same reason we like CJ
similar
Bailey.
to Lee, we wanted CJ Bailey. Yeah.
Plug and play. Plus there's upside. I think with these tall guys, the thing we got to learn is they get better if they work hard and they have talent to begin with and they're smart. They get better as they get older because they just fill out more. Those tall guys coordinate later. I mean, when Mendoza was a senior in high school, I don't think people envisioned him running, quarterback power in the national semifinals. They're calling running plays for him now. And he's big and he's fast. He was a baby giraffe 4 years ago. These tall guys kind of grow differently. So that's why I like Bailey. But just going back now to this before we move on to other positions, because we really got to hammer out the quarterback talk. Ty Simpson versus Tennessee. I'll give you another reason why I think maybe the home field advantage of Tennessee might not be as favorable as it might otherwise be, Pete. If he loves Alabama. He went there for 5 years, loves it. Or I guess 4 years he was at Alabama, loves it. He's an Alabama guy, right? If he goes to Tennessee, which he also didn't go to out of high school, he chose Alabama. Isn't he kind of like a weird place with Alabama?
I think Bama fans are gonna get on him one way or another.
But you know how the SEC is. They're weird out there with that kind of stuff. Like Miami's a whole different. He might as well play for the Buccaneers. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's a little different. Maybe in the playoffs it'll become a thing, but like I don't think it's like going from Alabama to Tennessee is a little bit like there's baggage there, I think, that's different.
Unless, but yeah, but you could also put it off on the fact that it's his hometown. So, you know, that it's his home school and he grew up dreaming. Again, I'm not saying he should go there, but maybe there's a little bit more reasoning behind it. But yeah, I look at it more as the football fit.
Yeah.
Tennessee makes their I don't know what the pitch is to him other than, hey, you are going to come in here and throw the ball around a lot.
Right.
Put some numbers up, but there's zero guarantees you are no guarantees Miami's a playoff team next year either. But I think they've shown right now that the foundation that they have is a bit different than what's going on at Tennessee.
Yeah. And then receivers lined up, next to the coaches on the sideline. Like that's just not the offense that to me makes a lot of sense for him.
Question here from El Rico. Appreciate your support. He says, if Levitt doesn't work out, could you guys see a scenario where Miami plays bully ball and take a committed quarterback from another team? The issue there is it's not quote unquote committed now. It's, they've signed these deals. We saw Damon Williams just try to get out of that situation. I would imagine that CJ Bailey, for example, has signed his paperwork. I don't count anything out here, but it's just you want to avoid those public messes at this point if you can.
Yeah, I think the contract part of it is huge. If he's actually just committed, which I don't see why he would just be sitting there on a commitment. If I'm at NC State, I'm not feeling great, then he's a no-brainer to me. But he's been a no-brainer, and people have still brained it. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I mean, for him, his left tackle went to Texas A&M, I believe. His left tackle, Jacarius Peak, left. Hollywood Smothers is now at Texas. Terrell Anderson is now at USC. I mean, he's lost all of his offense. So I don't know what he's doing there. If he was smart, he would have just waited and said, let's see what we get in the portal. But
agreed.
We'll see how it goes. And look, the thing before we move off Levitt, I mean, if Levitt called and said he wants to be a Cane, we're rocking and rolling. We have a good player there, a quarterback. I don't know where this is trending. And I don't know. The more this stuff kind of drags, the more I kind of fade away on this one. I don't know.
Well, my final thought on it, D, is like you wanted to avoid, and this has been the word that I've gotten from them for a while. You've wanted to avoid what you've gotten yourself into the last 2 years, which is waiting until the absolute last second. And now it looks like you're in a similar situation. Not to say they haven't been working on this thing since like October, right? Like doing their background research, like playing the back channel game. Like they have tried to get out in front of this. But I think at the end of the day, the easiest option sometimes, and I say easiest, but I'm saying like the easiest fit, the most seamless transition in terms of CJ Bailey, to me would have just been the smoothest thing, man. And then look, you've landed a couple receivers here, so the receivers, we'll get to in a second, feel good about who your guy is going to be. But I think it's probably hurt you, landing another guy there. But
yeah, no, 100%. And let's talk about the receivers, Pete, because I want to get into this right away. I am a huge fan of what Miami has done at the receiver position. And let's start with Cam Vaughn, the wide receiver from West Virginia, originally from Jacksonville State, who committed yesterday. We hadn't had a chance to talk about either of these guys. Let's jump into some of these dudes. Cam Vaughn, wide receiver, West Virginia, 83 receptions, 1,344 yards, 9 touchdowns in the last 2 years. His first year, he played at Jacksonville State. He's originally from Villa Rica, Georgia, small town, 6'2", 185, went to Jacksonville State with Rich Rod and then followed Rich Rod to Morgantown. Major quarterback issues this year for West Virginia, but still was their best receiver. 13 games, 35 catches, 541 yards this year, 4 touchdowns, 15.5 yards per catch. And just watching the highlights, man, both at Jacksonville State and at West Virginia, he reminds me so much of CJ Daniels, but with maybe even more juice, right? CJ Daniels is a Georgia kid from Atlanta, not a small town kid, but also a Georgia player. Played quarterback in high school. He had that 6'2", 6'3", wiry frame. Was really sort of a do-it-all type in high school. Goes to Liberty, blossoms there, then goes on to that Power 4 level. So just similar in that way. Vaughn is younger. Vaughn's only entering his third year, still not even draft eligible. But that's who he reminds me of, just in terms of frame, in terms of background. He plucks the ball in a very similar way.
Yeah.
He just looks a lot like it. I don't know if he has CJ Daniels' character stuff is so championship level. It's hard to just measure. I mean, the way he stretched for that third down, the way he blocks, the way he makes spectacular catches when he needs to. He is a championship player. One thing I'll say about Vaughn, though, Pete, I do think he has more speed than CJ Daniels.
Yeah, the yard after catch ability, I think he's got a little bit more of that. And you mentioned his ability to track the ball. I saw a couple Willie Mays-esque catches there right over his shoulders there, and it was you see his deep threat ability too. It's not as much probably as the next guy we'll talk about here and Van Jacobs, but to me look, a guy like Cam Coleman to me was never going to be a realistic thing. We see him end up at Texas. Some of these other guys that were out there, Nick Marsh, Miller, I think were really good players. But for the price tag you're paying for those guys, give me multiple of these sort of players we're talking about in a Cam Vaughn, in a Jacobs, who have the skill set. And I think it'll just really be amplified. We talk about with quarterback position, right? What can you do when you put a guy in this situation? The production at the receiver spot last year, when you had Cam Ward, but none of those guys were drafted, and they still had they were not NFL talents necessarily, right?
Yeah.
This year you have a little bit more, I think, but CJ Daniels isn't a slam dunk to get drafted. Keelan Marion, I think, has worked himself into a definitely as a draftable player here and could carve out a role for himself at the next level. But we're not talking about Malachi Toney is a future top sort of pick there, but you're not talking about a receiver room of top 3-4 round guys there. So in that sense, as a receiver, you look at it and you say, man, look at the production these guys have had. And I feel like I have even more ability.
Yeah, Kevin Beer's really done a great job. The culture of the room is really, really good as well. So I think these guys, if you combine it with Malachi Toney, you're talking about the best wide receiver group in the ACC, including Clemson, who I know has some good ones, with TJ Moore coming back, Wesco coming back from injury. But yeah, between Malachi Toney, he's your Cam Coleman, right? He's better than Cam Coleman. So it's like, if Malachi Toney went in the portal, it would be like the LeBron deal, for college football. I mean, he's a top 5 player in the sport, certainly going into next year, maybe right now. So you have that already. To add these two around him, plus all the young guys you have, I think you are really, really strong at wide receiver right now. With Vaughn, there was some criticism about there was a play where he was going deep and there was an interception and he didn't really chase it down. I know West Virginia fans got on him about that. I think the culture of the room will really help Hams as a winning culture. But man, I'm sure he's frustrated with the quarterback play also. That was a big part of what was happening at West Virginia. But this dude, his highlights, if you guys have not seen Cam Vaughn's highlights from West Virginia, go watch those highlights. He is very, very, very good with the ball in the air, man. And his acceleration for his size is pretty eye-popping, Pete. I mean, I think this guy could do some serious damage here.
Yeah, without a doubt, I think, and he really didn't have a stable QB situation at West Virginia, right? So that's what I'm saying, man. And Dawson has shown the ability to get the ball in guys' hands different ways. We see what he does in the screen game with CJ Daniels as well. I think talk about the yard after catch ability. He can make some things happen there. 15.5 yards per reception is really good.
Yeah, these are both downfield receivers, which we'll talk about the other one in a second. By the way, appreciate you, EJ, both for your support and for your service. Says biggest selling point for quarterbacks to come to Miami is the Great Wall of Maribel. They have all day to throw the ball. Dawson empowers his quarterbacks to be decision makers. In my opinion, Dawson is a QB whisperer. Go Canes. Yeah, so look, if you're selling Ty Simpson, let's tie it into the guys we're talking about. You say, okay, Cam Vaughn's already in. Put his highlights on. He'll go and catch the ball for you. Vandrevius Jacobs, who we're about to talk about, he's already in. Go watch his highlights against Texas A&M and Clemson and some of these teams. He's in. Malachi Toney, the best or the second best wide receiver in America next year. Top 5 player in the country, period. He's in. So that's a very good selling point for Ty Simpson, which he had great receivers last year. I think, honestly, these 3 would be probably similar to those 3. I don't think there's a huge difference between them, quite frankly. We'll see when they get here, but I could see it being similar to that trio for Alabama. The difference being Miami's traditionally had much better pass blocking than what you saw last year from Alabama. Ty Simpson got hurt last year. Put that one in bold, his injury. We'll see. Miami's offensive line is going to go through changes itself, so that's something we're going to talk about. But you have a long track record of good quarterback pass protection and running game. So that part of it makes a lot of sense for a Ty Simpson. But before we go to the offensive line, which I want to talk about too, another wide receiver commit, which I did a show on. We didn't get to talk about Vandrevius Jacobs out of South Carolina, Pete. I heard great character reports on this guy. Everybody in South Carolina loved him. They were very, very upset to lose him. Coaches, fans, which is always a good sign, media, when they're like, hey, man, this is not good to lose this guy. That's usually a good sign in the portal. Originally from Vero Beach, goes up to Florida State. I think there's a Florida State legacy. Doesn't play. That was the year of Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson and all those guys when they were a good team. So he leaves, goes to South Carolina, has a pretty good year, 24, 25, breakout season. Known as a really, really hard worker. You heard Beamer talking about how hard a worker he is. The route running improved. The hands improved. Really, though, great deep threat. He is making plays downfield against Texas A&M, and their top corner, Will Lee. You see him going up and over Clemson, making some spectacular moves after the catch.
That was a sick play against Clemson.
Unbelievable. You see him against Missouri multiple times getting behind that defense. This guy, I think, brings a huge, huge element, not just the culture to the room of being a good guy, a team captain sort of dude, academic all ACC or SEC, but the downfield ability and the arrow pointing up factor with Jacobs, that really excites me.
That right there, D, because I was watching some of the stuff from earlier in his career, like the year before South Carolina, and he looks like it does not look like the same player this year. He looks like he took his game to a whole nother level. We've seen certain guys do the same thing here at Miami, and I think that's a big part of why we are so excited about him. I think he's someone that we always talk about it with this portal stuff with recruiting. There are certain players that in the building they are higher on than the consensus. I mean, he's like a 15, top 15 sort of receiver in the portal.
Both 4 stars in the portal, but yes.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about Jacobs in particular here.
Yeah. They're both 4 stars.
I mean, they're both high on. They're obviously very high on both. But like Jacobs, the word I got on him when he came in last weekend was, we value him more than what the maybe the rankings say.
Yeah, it sounds like South Carolina also valued him, because go to their message boards after that, like, and read that portal thread. They were not happy about it. Appreciate you, Nick Watson. Says, big thanks, fellas. It's been a great year. Let's win number 6 on Monday and ride the momentum straight into the Final Four in Omaha. Go Canes. The athletic department rolling. I know we talked about the basketball game, which is hard. It kind of gets lost in the shuffle just because football is just so obviously in a whole different place right now. But, man, basketball is looking good, too, and baseball is getting started here in a week. So we're excited about all these guys.
Listen, when you talk about the health of an athletic department, I know we've had some struggles here with basketball the last couple of years, but Miami was in the Final Four 3 years ago. In the scope of things, that still means something when you're recruiting. Baseball, what we both believe, and I know you believe very strongly, is on the cusp here of being where they need to be. They almost got there last year against all odds, right? So the health of the athletic department right now is phenomenal, and the moneymaker, which is football, is right where it needs to be.
Yeah, no, exciting times. Women's sports doing well, basketball, volleyball. So, no, good times for the Miami Hurricanes. But before we get too far astray, with these 2 wide receivers, I think very simple. Malachi Toney goes right back where he was. Cam Vaughn replaces CJ Daniels. Jacobs replaces Keelan Marion. Josh Moore, Dalen Upshaw, JoJo Trader if he comes back, which I've not heard anything otherwise, but you know how these things go.
Milan Paris. I'm looking at him. I'm looking at him to be a factor. I saw him the other day walking around campus D, and that is he's every bit of 6'5", 6'6", man. And once he fills out, he's going to be an absolute problem.
Hard worker too. Then you get Samoran Wingo, who I think he's kind of a plug and play sort of skill set with the way he catches the ball in traffic, the route running. Like he's very well developed. And then Vance Spafford. He didn't come here to sit. All those guys are on campus right now. They are practicing now. So they're here. So that's your receiver room. And I think that receiver room is going to compete very hard. And you're going to have some really, really good production from that position next year, no matter who's at quarterback. But I think that position has me very, very excited. And I'm glad it's kind of all done here in the portal. I'm assuming it's all done. We never know. We never know. But that looks like that's where we're at.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's a nice mix of because there's going to be some people who naturally say, man, why don't you just trust the young guys? We'd be in a very difficult situation right now if you had not brought in the veterans that you brought in. We would not be in the position you're in right now. Just wouldn't be that way. And you've lost a lot, man. You've lost what, 4 receivers right now? Ray, Nikar, or 3. Ray, Nikar, Chance. Am I missing someone else? That's 3 right there, though.
Ray, Nikar, Chance. I think that's it. Tony Johnson leaves. He's been hurt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot to replay. I mean, really, your class of 23 and 24, you haven't gotten much out of those wide receivers.
Right.
So it's been 25 with those 3, and then the portal guys is basically what you're looking at. Now the class of 26 getting in here, 4 new players. We didn't mention Tyron Evans as well is coming in. So want to focus on, let's stay on offense, Pete, before we move on. Offensive line, offensive tackle. I think we both believe that Josiah Thompson, the left tackle for South Carolina, speaking of the South Carolina Gamecocks, we both think that he is someone who will end up as a Miami Hurricane over Georgia.
Yeah, I feel strongly about that. Heard everything went well. Parents were down here with him, and they believe in his ability, man. They believe in the upside. A guy who's played a lot there in the SEC, nowhere near a finished product, but they just see the size and the movement ability there, man.
Yeah, I'm a believer, right? So I went back and watched 2 full games just to get of this year, just to get a feel for his movement, look at some of his high school stuff. I'll watch more as this goes on, assuming he becomes part of this class. But this is a 5-star guy out of South Carolina, 6'6", 6'7", 300 plus. Looks really, really good in his pads. He's still not physically, to me, where he needs to be. I think he can still gain a good 5 to 10 pounds and be in good shape. I won't sugarcoat it. So he's a 5-star player, freshman All-America. Then last year struggles. He's been starting the whole time at left tackle, both years. So he's a third-year player with 2 years of starting. So a young guy with a lot of starting experience. I won't sugarcoat it. He was not good last year. I mean, if you watch his film and you're just saying, like, all right, is he playing well? I mean, he's not. I mean, he's getting beat a lot. Power's giving him a lot of problems. He has some issues with Mason Thomas when I watched him against Oklahoma. I mean, he's not in the portal for no reason. However, when you put the context in, you say, Ole Miss Southern Carolina fired their offensive line coach halfway through the year. And the whole thing was a disaster. And the rest of the offensive line was terrible. You understand the bigger picture a little bit, not to mention that he was just a true sophomore starting for a second year in a row, still physically developing. I like this approach where you say, if this guy has no character stuff that I'm aware of. I mean, he started since he was a true freshman. That's hard to do. He's got all the tools you want. I mean, his movement, his twitch, you're just seeing, this is why I was encouraged to see him move. I mean, he really moves like a 5-star. He's very sudden and quick. He can bend. Sometimes maybe his back can be a little flatter, technical stuff, but he's all the body control and flexibility and all that's there. He seemed to play hard. Everything I saw, I liked, other than the bad reps where he got beat. And I think a guy like this, if he is able to develop with Miramar, let's say you get 2 years out of him, and he gets stronger, he gets more technically sound, he gets more confident. I think confidence is a big part of that too. That was just a struggling situation on offense and the offensive line. Put him in our system. I mean, now you're talking about a guy potentially being a high NFL pick because of the size and the upside at the tackle position. So you're getting a 5-star. If you got this guy as a 5-star recruit and he was entering now to the starting lineup, you'd feel great about it. But he's coming in with 2 years of starting experience in the SEC. And probably he's not going to be cheap because this position is not cheap. But it's not like you're getting like a fully grown, top of the market guy. So I like this pickup if Miami's able to get it done, which I think they will. I see the vision. I understand the concerns because, look, if you put on a tape with this guy this year, you're going to see him getting beat. But you're also going to see a lot of nice traits that, if developed, could not just be competent at left tackle, but quite spectacular.
Yeah, you if there's a position that you have to fully trust the development and what's going to go on there, it's offensive line, right? As we see with Simpson as a prime example of that, and has continued to take his game to the next level. But yeah, he's not. They understand he's not a finished product, but they are very excited about what he can become.
Yeah, we got to also talk about the elephant in the room, right, Pete? What people are going to ask about this whole deal, which is,
well, yeah, Markel Bell. I mean, this is we said it a few days ago when we first mentioned the name on Friday, I think it was, or Saturday morning maybe. Look, and by the way, I almost have to talk about the Fletcher too. I mean, Fletcher is another one where you go on a run like this and you can have an idea that you want to come back, but you're now in the national championship. Your stock is probably as high as you're ever going to have it. Markel Bell, I think, had some ups and downs last game against Ole Miss, but you had a great game against KashKick. You did what you did against Caden Curry and Ohio State and those guys. And now you have an opportunity here against Indiana National Championship. I just think it looks like he's out the door, man.
Yeah, look, and someone's saying PD the agent's trying to push people out. No, this one I could see.
No, this is not me speculating stuff, man. This is I think the writing's kind of on the wall there.
Fletcher's different. I don't know where that goes. He's a special kind of guy. You saw Georgia's running backs came back. Didn't Travion Henderson and Junkins come back? Weren't they still eligible? They had a year that they could have left earlier and they came back. So that happens sometimes. Fletcher, I'm not sure on, but I think Bell, he really is playing at a pretty high level. And this is really a bad tackle draft. I mean, I don't like any of the tackles. I mean, I think Caden Proctor, if you ask me who's if I said right now, I understand Proctor will get drafted higher than Bell just because of some of the movement stuff he can do. But if I said that Bell was better than Proctor, would you push back? As far as right now as a football player, in 2025?
No, especially not under the situation of him getting coached up by Mirabal and being in this system. No, without a doubt. I just, I'm not disagreeing, Kyle, as Kyle continues to come at me here. I'm not disagreeing that Bell isn't he still has some growth that he can do, but some of it may just be physical limitations that may not change in another year here, which is what he has to really if the NFL is telling him, look, this is what your limitations are. If you come back, is he gonna he's 6'9", 6'8", 6'9". Is he gonna turn into a 6'7" guy with a little bit more bend overnight? I don't know that physically he's gonna be able to do that. He just has to kind of work with what he's got, which is that tremendous length, power. The movement skills are just coming back a year. Is that gonna really change, or is it gonna leave you in the same situation you're in right now? He will be on a roster next year. He will be on an active roster in the NFL, 100%. I don't think he's coming in and slotting in as a starter, but if he's on an active roster, starts that process a year early and gets his work in the NFL, because look, he's also going to have to see that speed up close every single day. And that's going to be, I think, what takes his game to the next level.
Yeah, although he's seen some pretty good ones right now, best defensive ends in the nations. But I agree with you, Pete. I think that one, I'm less optimistic on that one than I was. And then you see the Josiah Thompson thing. People are like, oh, you're bringing him in to be a backup. I don't think Josiah Thompson's bringing in to be a backup. He brought in to be a backup. So
yeah, I don't think you're paying a guy, like that to sit on the bench.
So we'll see, but that's the name I'd watch on offense, and I like the approach.
And Chris said he's probably a second or third round pick right now. Ceiling might be late first round. Based on what I've heard, man, that's not likely the first round thing. I think probably mid round pick right now. Probably, I think he could sneak into that third round range, but I think fourth, fifth round still more likely there.
I think the way he's played in the playoffs, I'm thinking more day 2. That's what I would think, because he's playing good and he's going to interview well. When people see him, just his sheer size, I think there's guys. What did DeJuan Jones go from Iowa State or from Ohio State? Let me pull this up right now. So DeJuan Jones from Ohio State was 4th round. Yeah, so maybe, because that's a pretty similar guy. I think he's played better than DeJuan Jones, but that could be a similar look. And he was 4th round, so maybe.
Yeah, I'm going back into my text with a scout who, unfortunately, about a month ago called him a traffic cone. So that's where that I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. But there's people in the league who just don't think he can play, on an island like that necessarily. Yeah,
no, I'd heard 4th round range before, like around early November, but he's played better since then, which is why I say probably second or third, just a weaklier tackle. But anyways, Josiah Thompson, I talked a lot about it, Pete. You agree with my view on it, that I think getting a high upside guy like this, clean, no character issues that I'm aware of, no injuries. He's young, he's experienced, he's still got a lot of upside. He could be an NFL type of player if he develops. I like that approach more than just getting a veteran that's not that good and expensive.
Yeah, a ready-made guy, because look, maybe one of these young guys steps up and ends up being the guy there. Right, that's not out of the realm of possibility either. But at that point, they go and earn that over a guy who has, again, played a lot of football in the SEC.
Yeah, and look, I'm telling you, this guy's athletic, man. When you watch, tackles. You had a 1st round tackle yourself. When you watch this guy, he looks the part. He moves. You don't see any negative body language stuff. Just stuff that you're like, look deeper to this. He looks like a guy that's competing and is trying and that has all the talent in the world. It's just a disastrous offensive line. There's a reason his coach got fired. Coaches don't usually get fired in the middle of the year, position coaches. So that was a messed up situation. Put him in our situation, I think he's going to be a whole lot better, and there's a lot of upside there. So I like Josiah Thompson. Let's switch to the defensive side of the ball before Steve gets on, because we've been talking a lot, and this was a lot of info to cram in here. So let's get into it. We talked about it. You talked about it on Discord. We talked about it on the show. We talked about it since he jumped in the portal. To me, priority number 1 should be, and I think is, the best defensive player in the portal, in my opinion, and I believe in the rankings as well. I think some people have Chaz Coleman over him. I don't agree with that. Number 1 player in the portal right now on the defensive side of the ball, Damon Wilson, originally from Venice, Florida, 5-star signed with Georgia, transferred to Missouri, had 9 sacks last year, and is now back in the portal. I think he is Miami's number 1 target on defense. I think there's a great chance Miami gets this one done. And I think if they do get this one done, it would be huge, obviously. And this is what we need to be doing on the defensive side of the ball. We got great players. We got great young guys. We got a great scheme. We're losing 2 of the biggest impact players in the country with Messidor and Bain. Getting a ready-made impact guy, and then continue to develop others.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of not only, you can't even call it upside. This guy is one of the most productive pass rushers in the country. They've tried to get him the last couple of years. I think they feel like they're in a good position here with the fact you're losing so much production. You're losing a lot of snaps in both Bain and Messidor there. And you've kind of been waiting for Miami outside of the quarterback position, right, to make that big portal splash that they have been known to make, right? Everyone's been saying, is it going to be the receiver, a guy like Cam Coleman, a Jeremiah Smith? Can he jump in the portal here? Coy Parrish, who we'll talk about here in a second. Who's that splash going to be? Like you just mentioned, D, I think they're focusing in on Wilson this week. I think you've kind of set aside some resources for a big-time pass rusher. Remember, there's been a lot of speculation about a Dylan Stewart, for example, which didn't materialize once again this year. But Wilson just fits that bill completely to me. If you're going to spend money, spend it in the trenches, spend it on a premier pass rusher. You're putting a lot of resources into offensive and defensive line in the high school position. That's what's gotten you to the point we're at right now in the playoffs. It hasn't been the shiny toys, as my boy Johnny Ruiz likes to say. It's the boys in the trenches.
100%. Lou Chaser J says Ashari Charles recruiting Damon Wilson. I don't know, but maybe. Yet Ashari Charles, another defensive end from Venice, Florida, Venice high school signee in the class of 26. He's just arrived on campus, coming from the formerly the Army All-America game, now the Navy All-America game, where he was outstanding. He was one of the top performers all week. Ashari Charles, I know
unfortunately can't practice this week because he's sick, but and I think they're going to try to keep those guys away from the team. Yeah,
but he's going to be really good. I know you've always been a fan. He really showed out at that bowl game, and he is from the same city as Damon Wilson, same high school, so the same position. So that could be something to keep an eye on. But
just a side note, I remember I actually had a few years ago when Wilson was coming out of high school, I had a call with his dad about, trying to sign him for NIL stuff. And they took a very in a good way, very business-like approach to the process from what I remember. His dad was a coach, a trainer, and really, had a good understanding of everything. Miami just makes so much sense outside of the fine. He'll be well paid wherever he ends up. But if you're trying to go somewhere where you can be in a position to go get after the quarterback, get coached up, get developed, Jason Taylor's not trying to be buddy-buddy with these guys, man. He's trying to coach them up to get to the next level and to be the best players they can be here right now, right? I think that's what he's probably looking for at this point. And Miami just makes a lot of sense there.
And the proof's in the pudding, right? You have the production to show with Messidor and with Bain. And I think you think about Moneyball, when Jason Giambi left the Athletics and they're trying to replace him by committee. I don't think you replace a Ruben Bain or Messidor by committee. I think you need to instead of getting a lot of guys with the portal money, I would rather spend a good chunk of it on a premier player, which there's really not many. This guy's
you don't have to play the guessing game with him. You know what you're getting there, and then I keep mentioning this. You paid a lot of money, deservedly so, for Hayden Lowe as a top 20 player in the country. He's not taking a pay cut just because he got hurt, right? Yeah. He would have gone back into the portal. They're very excited about him. I see a question about him. The plan all along has been not to play him in the playoffs. There's no reason to throw him out there right now when he just started practicing here in the last few weeks. But and then trust your development with guys like Scroggins, who have played a lot. Justin Scott inside, Armando Blunt, who's going to be a versatile player.
Marquise Lightfoot.
Micah Newton, can he continue to develop for you there? So you've got to more so trust that. But yes, spend big there. You don't have to guess what you're getting in Wilson.
Yep, I'm with you 100%. So defensive tackle, we lose Dante Simpson, young guy that you were counting on to be your young guy coming up. I think you go right to another young player to replace him. Jarquez Carter from Newberry, Florida. Miami recruited him out of high school, ended up signing his teammate. Micah Newton, who was a freshman last year, was banged up. Went to Ohio State, played a bit. Now in the portal. That one seems to me like a fit that makes sense for the Miami Hurricanes. You lose a young player, you replace him with a guy the same age, similar talent level, similar style. I don't know what you're hearing on that, but I'm hearing. I think I know what you're hearing on that. You're hearing the same thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I put his name on the Discord. I think Saturday, middle of the day, was the first I had heard about that. I think it's a guy that Miami was very big on coming out of high school. You can kind of get. He played 7 games this year for Ohio State, so it's not like he was completely on the bench there. You can almost get a guy like that for a little bit of a discount than what it would have cost coming out of high school. From what I understand, there's a lot of interest there on his end. Another guy that I would keep in mind is a Walter Mathis, defensive lineman from LSU, who's also in the portal.
Yeah, I think the question with him is going to be his size. He's on the smaller side, but very twitchy and played this year. So we'll see. We'll see on that.
He played like 200 snaps this year, though.
Yeah, he did. He did. So that's the defensive tackle. I don't see big fishing there. I think you're going to bring back Bowden. You're going to bring back Justin Scott. We'll have the best defensive Blunt. I mean, those are the best defensive tackles, in my opinion, in the country returning next year. Maybe David Stone and Simpson or whatever the guy, Jackson from Oklahoma, will be in that mix. But Miami's going to have as good or better defensive tackles than anyone in the country next year, assuming those guys stay healthy. So,
and one thing I've heard, and I posted this on the Discord last night, Keyshawn Stansel. I'm hearing his name a lot come up in when I'm asking about portal, what's going on in the portal. I think at D-line you'll get hopefully a Damon Wilson and one more of these D tackles we're mentioning here. But there's a lot of belief that between Keyshawn Stansel and then you choose one out of Logan Nagel, Chukwura, Frederick Saintis, they think at least one of those guys is going to be able to get themselves up to a speed that they can be a really good rotational player for Miami. So you don't want to rely on it, but I think you know who your front end guys are there. And then you bring in one of these portal guys and then trust what you're doing here in the high school ranks.
Yep. So I think that's how that one's going to go. Linebacker, I didn't hear a ton of names. Like, people assume we're going to be taking a lot of linebackers. Maybe I assume that too. But the big domino, Pete, Mo Toure is coming back. And Mo Toure is playing his best football right now in the playoffs. He looks phenomenal. He looks healthy. Mo Toure, if he comes back, which again, he is coming back unless something changes, you're talking about probably one of the best linebackers in the ACC next year based on his current trajectory. He's going to be like 27. So he'll be old. I don't know exactly how old he'll be, but he'll be on the older side. But I think that him coming back and playing at such a high level right now makes you feel better there. Popo will come back. You have younger players who need to play. One name, Kellen Wiley, we've talked about a bunch. One name, Pete, that gets brought up to me a lot. We're going to bring in Steve Kim here in a second as we finish the portal talk. One name that gets brought up to me a lot, Bonner. Kamal Bonner from NC State, who came into the portal, the later portal, got hurt, so it kind of set him back as far as playing a lot this year. He's been playing special teams, but I heard he looks really good at practice, and I heard he's sort of trending towards potentially being that starter caliber player next year. Was one of the best players on NC State's defense last year. He's a guy to watch potentially in that linebacker mix. He's almost like a portal guy you get this year with a year of development. So I don't think linebacker is going to be a big spot. I don't know if you're hearing anything different there.
I don't. And the other name is, as people have been really wanting this guy too, but I don't expect Miami to be involved in Kedu Luave from Cal. I heard that is not it's not currently necessarily a target.
Right. Nope. I'm hearing the same thing. And then you talk about so linebacker. There could be names there. I'm not ruling it out, but I'm internal.
JJ Edwards is someone they're very excited about there too.
4 or 5. I'm excited
right away.
Too. Yeah, me too. So linebacker, I wouldn't be too. Marcelin's been playing on special teams too, by the way. So he could be a rotational guy as well, along with Kellen Wiley, who we talked about. Bobby Washington comes back. So I think a linebacker, I'm less focused on external names because Toure's coming back and Bonner's coming in. Safety, I don't see a huge change. Omar Thornton's going to play some safety, some nickel, so you kind of pencil him in both. I don't expect us to pursue Coy Parrish. We haven't been. Read into that what you will, but that's not something that seems to be happening. Corner.
I don't want to pay. I'm not trying to pay a safety $2 million, D.
Yeah, I think that's part of it.
Within the structure of how we win.
And you got to play Bryce Edwards. You got to play
Bryce Fitzgerald.
Bryce Fitzgerald. You got to play Zechariah Poyser. You have Thornton coming in. So we'll figure all that out. But I don't see Parrish being a factor. Corner, you have 4 starting caliber guys right now. Plus Jabari Antoine is going to be starting caliber next year. So there's a glut there. I think that's sort of wait and see until after the championship where that goes. I think Miami's evaluating, or I know Miami's evaluating cornerbacks in the portal just in case that goes a different direction and we need to bring someone in. If you bring everybody back, great. You have a star-laden room. But I think Miami's going to be good at corner next year regardless. How it ends up happening, I don't know. But that's
I
just
think it's
something
trending that way, D. I think it's trending that way, but that we get the guys back.
Yeah, so we'll see. Again, I think that's going to be something that we see after the championship. So real quick, we're going to bring in Steve Kim to talk about what really matters, trying to win that 6th national championship while you're biding your time, waiting for that championship game. I know you guys are going to be waiting, trying to kill time. It's a long time till next Monday, week from today, baby. Give your free time a raise with KashKick, KashKick in the App Store. 4.5 plus average rating, 1.5 million plus downloads. All your games right there on your phone, on an app. You download the app. You got all your games consolidated. Have some fun. Play those games. You can surf the internet, do surveys. All these things are earning you extra money. So your free time is now generating money for you, going straight to your PayPal, real money. This is one of the biggest apps in the country. KashKick, KashKick in the App Store. Give your free time a raise as you try to kill that free time getting ready for this championship game. And if we're getting ready for the championship game, you know who we got to talk to, man. He is the Korean Cosell.